Okay, so we're at 7:30. We good to go? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the May 5th, 2025 work session of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Forest Heights, Maryland. The time is now 7:31, and this meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Here. Present. Present. Here.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I would ask that we please have a moment of silence. Thank you. Next, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I ask that each person would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next, we'll have the minutes from meetings for March 6th and April 16th, 2025. Are there any changes or additions to the meeting minutes from March 6th? Councilmember Brownson.
The minutes for March 6th, I wasn't at the meeting, but I didn't see the reasons stated for the emergency meeting. And another question I had, if there was a grant proposal, was it given at the meeting? And it was, so can I get a copy of it?
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Any other changes or additions for March 6th or April 16th, 2025 meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, the clerk will research and provide information as requested. Next, we will have approval of the main agenda. Yeah, just ask, do you have corrections for that?
Yes, I do have a correction, on one of the motion, I wasn't present there, it was the which one is it? The resolution to approve the of 2025. And she has all yays, but I said no to that resolution.
Madam
That's the
Clerk?
one for pre-drive and on a day. Let's see. Thank you.
All right, that'll be corrected. What was that, Council President?
My copy has nay for 2025 for Councilmember Teresa Brownson on page 4 of 6. Page 4 of 6.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, so I guess we'll correct the record. It stands correct for April 16th, 2025. So, okay. Madam Clerk, it looks like it's currently displaying correct in the record. So if there's no other changes or corrections, the meeting minutes for April 16th are also adopted as presented. Next, we'll move to approval of the main agenda. Is there a motion to approve the main agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the main agenda as it's written.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's main agenda. Discussion. We actually have Mr. DeSalvo, who has joined us online. I've asked him to join and give an update on the FY23 audit. So if we could amend tonight's agenda, I move that we amend the agenda, adding a presentation on the FY23 audit from Mr. DeSalvo. What did I say? After the proclamations or just before proclamations? What is this? Yes, we'll do it right after the swearing in for Mr. Clay Jackson is the amendment. Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend tonight's main agenda, adding a presentation from Mr. Frank DeSalvo after the swearing in of Mr. Clay Jackson. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. All right, now we have the motion on the floor to adopt the agenda as amended. Now we need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. My apologies.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as amended, adding Mr. DeSalvo's update.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend tonight's agenda, that we approve tonight's agenda as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the ayes have it, and the agenda is amended. I would also make a note, Madam Clerk, that it appears we have Councilmember Kennedy online at this point. Councilmember Kennedy, if you're able to hear us, could you just let us know that you're online?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we will have the swearing in of our Newtown Administrator, Mr. Clay Jackson. If you please come forward, sir. For those in the room and those at home, Mr. Clay Jackson was selected by the council as our permanent town administrator after an exhaustive search. We had almost 24 applicants, and after performing due diligence and looking at what he brings to the town, we're happy to swear him in tonight as the new town administrator. I state your name. Do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland. And support the Constitution and laws thereof. And that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment, diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of Town Administrator for the Town of Forsyth, according to the Constitution and laws of the state. According to the Constitution and laws of the state. Congratulations. We now gonna have you sign. Thank you. Let's give Mr. Jackson a hand one more time. At this time, we will now ask Mr. DeSalvo to come off of mute. Sir, if we could have you turn your camera on and you can give a brief 5-minute update regarding the FY23 audit, please.
Good evening, Mayor Lilly and members of the council. When we last met in April, I felt pretty confident that we'd be able to complete the audit by April 30th. However, some issues came up which delayed the full completion. However, on the 30th, the audit's comprised of 2 financial statements. One financial statement is the government-wide financial statement. The other one is the general fund financial statement. The government-wide financial statement was delivered to Mr. Frankenfield on the 30th with a number of journal entries that he needed to approve. Basically, in the audit process, I'll identify items that need to be adjusted and propose them to Mr. Frankenfield, and then he has to approve them. So we went through that process last week, and I delivered to him today the general fund financial statements, of which there are a number of journal entries that he has to review as well. He indicated a little earlier this evening that those entries are acceptable, and I'm moving forward with assembling the audit now, and hopefully, if nothing else comes up, it'll be available soon. I really am hesitant to give you a firm date, but it should be available soon. You know, it shouldn't be but a week or so. He has one entry he has to give me by the end of the week. However, that entry isn't going to hold me up on my other schedules that are integrated into the audit presentation. As you may recall, there's, you know, the audit is quite lengthy and requires a number of interrelated schedules, and I'm putting those together right now. That's really all I have to say. Do you have any questions this evening?
Thank you, Mr. DeSalvo. Any questions for Mr. DeSalvo at this time? Councilmember Brownson.
Did he say that was the FY23 budget or the 24?
He's giving an update for FY23.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council President Noble.
Good evening, Mr. DeSalvo. I know you gave a date of soon, very soon, but how can you get a little closer on a date? And I ask that question because I know that there are penalties when the audits are late.
Well, the FY23 records were not in the greatest shape. 21 and up until 22, they were, it was pretty stable in the finance department. 23, there were a lot of folks that went back and forth. It's taken a lot of effort to put it together so it makes sense. Mr. Frankenfield had to put together a rather extensive work paper to bring the salaries into line with what they were supposed to be based on the actual monies that were paid. So there's been, some delays caused by these extra issues. I'm working on it every day now. My schedule is pretty much devoted to this. Assuming that nothing comes up in the next couple of days, it should be available by the end of next week. But, I can update the mayor and Mr. Jackson if something comes up that would delay it any further than that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Noble and Mr. DeSalvo. Okay, next, we'll move to the next item on our agenda tonight. We have a number of proclamations for May. May's actually got several proclamations, so I won't read all of them tonight, but what I will do is just, they're in the attachment for the agenda for council as well as the community. We're recognizing this month Mental Health Awareness Month. That's for the entire month of May. We are recognizing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month during the month of May. This week actually is Municipal Clerks Week, and so we'd like to give special recognition to our new clerk, Ms. Latoya Chisholm, who has been doing a wonderful job assisting the council and community with documentation. This is also Teachers Appreciation Week, and so I'll be partnering with staff this week to find a way to drop off or just send a token of appreciation to the teachers at our many schools, including the 2 elementary schools in Forest Heights Elementary and Flintstone Elementary. So we'd like to thank our teachers who go above and beyond. We know that they do much outside of the classroom, especially in our community, to support the families and students they serve. Later this month, but before our next meeting, we will celebrate Law Enforcement Memorial Week. And we'd like to point out that we want to recognize those who serve day in and day out, but some law enforcement officers have paid the ultimate sacrifice of their life, protecting the citizens that they serve. And so that is a time, May 15th, that week we'll be recognizing Law Enforcement Memorial Week. And finally, at the end of the month, the week of May 19th through 25th, I actually may bring this back and read this at a later time, but we'll be recognizing Public Works Week, which is May 19th through 25th. And as you'll see later in the agenda, we have something that will help us to have a conversation around public works towards the end of the month. All right, so I move that we adopt the proclamations for Mental Health Awareness Month, actually, can we do the adoption of these all at once? I move that we adopt the proclamations that are on the agenda tonight, which include Mental Health Awareness Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Municipal Clerks Week, Teacher Appreciation Week, and Law Enforcement Memorial Week, and Public Works Week. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the proclamations that are on the agenda this evening for the month of May. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, those proclamations of the mayor and council are officially adopted. Next, we will go into council member and mayor reports, and we'll begin in Ward 1 with Council Member McDonald.
Good evening, everyone. The only thing I have is to share that the Green Team will be meeting on June 7th, and we will probably have to meet at the Oxon Hill Library because there's no space available on that date. So June 7th, the Green Team will be meeting to discuss several things regarding structure and overall priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Next, we'll go to Councilmember Little for Ward 1.
Good evening. I would like to make mentions that we had finance meeting. I was trying to remember what weekend it was. The 27th. Oh, it was a Sunday, yes. It was a successful finance meeting where we discussed the FY26 budget. We reviewed line item by line item and discuss some changes that we may need to make or adjustments that may need to be made. We'll discuss with council further. We also had a wonderful ribbon cutting on the 26th of April to open up Oxen Cove Park. It was a beautiful monumental event. I cannot wait to take a walk on the trail. Now also to start off the Mental Health Awareness Month, we had a wonderful time at the Can We Talk Symposium that was hosted by the Boris L. Henson Foundation at Oxon Hill High School. It was a wonderful way to bring awareness to help mental health crises and coping skills through therapy and mentorship. So I learned a lot. I hope the young adults and young youth learned a lot that they could use because the rates of suicide is tremendous, and I would like to see those numbers go down. That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Little. Councilmember McDonald, you had another thing to add?
Yes, I wanted to add one thing, and that was the police department and Sonora hosted a wonderful event for Earth Day with the youth of the town of Forest Heights. I was so grateful to attend and to participate in that event, and just wanted to thank the police department and Sonora for gathering the youth. They were very energetic, they were very involved, they were very engaged, and it's these kinds of activities and events that help us to connect with those persons who are in the community of sustainability. We were also able to make some contacts with some individuals so that we could reach back out to them when we embark on our Green Summit. So very nice event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Next, we will go to Ward 2, and we'll go to Councilmember Brownson.
My update is that we had, the police department had a Ward 2 walk. And I walked with the police department throughout through the south side of Ward 2. It was a very extensive walk. We got a chance to meet a lot of residents and talk to them, hear their issues. And we also got a chance to learn a little bit about, the makeup of some of the commercial property in the town, and Chief Reese gave a good history of the wards that we walked, which, I learned a lot from that. And I learned a lot from the residents. They came out and talked to Mr. Jackson, Mr. Jewell, Chief Reese, and myself, and gave us their point of view and their issues, some of the issues that they had. I want to point out one of the issues that one of the residents had, and we had that same issue when we had the advisory committee meetings with public safety. So one of the residents was saying that they don't see the police department in the mornings, especially when they're on their way to work. And one of the residents said that they were approached in a threatening way, and that it would have been nice to have seen a police officer out at the time, or been able to call a police officer at the time. So that was one of the things we discussed, I heard while I was listening to the public's safety advisory committee meeting. And then we had a Ways and Means Advisory Committee meeting on Saturday, April 27th as well. And I sat in while the Finance Committee did the FY26 proposed budget line by line. So I sat in on that and then made some comments when it comes to the Ways and Means portion of it. So one of the things we discussed was ways that we can possibly try to bring more money into the town, knowing that the FY26 budget is going to be tight, and we've got to cut expenses and revenue is down. So some of the suggestions that were brought up at the meeting were the cleaners, that property that the town owns, and spending thousands of dollars each year, but not recouping anything. So one of the suggestions that one of the participants suggested, maybe we can find a way to use that lot for maybe rental, as far as parking for commercial vehicles in the town. Charge them a fee to park their vehicles so they don't want to get a ticket by parking on the streets of Forest Heights. Another way was that the municipal building, community room here is not bringing in much income. And most of the time, the room is used for staff and staff family. So we had anticipated that we were going to bring some money in that for FY 25, but according to the actuals, there hasn't been any money posted for that. So one of the ways we thought about, if they maybe when the staff is using it, since they use it a lot, maybe they could pay the open and closing fee of $75. That would be a way to bring in money, then hold the staff accountable to that 1 year courtesy that they get for renting the property. And then another one mentioned was the parking violations in the town. They should be more active, and maybe something should be done about the state tags in the parking in town. Maybe we can get more revenue in that respect. And we discussed the police department, how increasing, and one of the things they talked about was annexation, that annexation might bring in money for the town. However, if we talk about annexation, then we're talking about more police department demands for them. So there has to be a balance between the annexation and the staff of the police department. So I know in the FY 26 budget, there's a proposal that there won't be as many police on staff as there have been in the past. But yet we want to add annexation. So we need to look at that for the FY 26 budget. And that was the Ways and Means Committee meeting. I also want to mention that I don't know whether any other council member received a letter from the mayor. Received a letter from the mayor warning about improper requests.
Madam council member,
Yes.
if I send a letter directed to you and you'd like to talk about it and it involves a matter that was not given to the public, you can consider seeing if council would like to go into a closed session to discuss that. That won't be discussed in open session.
Okay, well, in reference to that, I would like to make a proposal to revisit resolution charter section 33-66. And maybe I will make a recommendation to go into closed session to discuss this letter that I received from the mayor in reference to disciplinary actions for talking to staff.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Next, we'll go to Councilmember Kennedy for
Can I
Ward
make
2.
that request now? To go in closed session about this?
There's a portion on the agenda for other items in new business.
Okay.
Councilmember Kennedy, are you able to come off mute? Okay, Councilmember Kennedy, I can't hear you at the moment, so I'm gonna go to Ward 3 and then we'll come back to you. Council President Noble.
Thank you. I first want to start out with our Public Safety Committee meeting, which was held Sunday, April 27th. And the chief gave a great presentation. Public safety is what the residents expect, and people want to be safe in this community. So we talked about code enforcement. Officer Williams is doing a great job. Some residents, they may not see it, but he is on the job. So residents have complimented his work, and they could see him actively getting out his vehicle, checking on things. We bring things to his attention, and he's just getting it done. And I'll give an example. In our meeting, we talked about runaway dogs. Chief said, get a picture of the dog. But sometimes we are afraid. Well, we have a wild dog on Cree Drive, and he cornered me, but I got his picture. And the next day, Officer Williams showed me he gave the person a citation because the dog was just loose and he's just terrorizing the residents. So if you see something and you can take a picture and then forward it to, what is the email, Chief? crime.
Code enforcement at foresights.md.gov.
Yes. And the last thing on our public safety meeting, we're going to start up our neighborhood watch. It was going on a long time, probably 20 some years ago, but we want to energize the neighbors. And when we talk about neighborhood watch, although it's folks around crime, but we just neighborhood watch, you have an older neighbor, maybe someone needs to, you haven't seen them. We just want to be more concerned with our neighbors. So we're going to start neighborhood watch. We're going to set up some meetings and it's going to be on a regular basis. So we'll get that started soon. So I want everybody to be on the lookout and please come to those meetings. On last month, I went to Annapolis. If I were mayor, the fourth graders wrote essays. So we had no one from Forest Heights, unfortunately, but someone from Prince George's County. So a young man was there and the first lady presented the certificates to the students and they had a great time. I also participated in the mock interviews at Oxon Hill High School along with Council Member Brownson and the mayor. And I was just given a sense of hope with these young people. Our future, they did great interviews, I think, for the most part. Some had their own businesses, so they're ready to get out there in the world. So I interviewed someone who's a senior, and so it's a lot of positive things going on in District 26, District 8, Town of Forest Heights. So I think that's all I'm going to bore you with at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Noble. Councilmember Kennedy, can you hear? Can you come off mute and? Okay. I'm not hearing anything from Councilmember Kennedy. I do have a report to show, but for some reason the internet not allowing me to connect at the moment. So we may just come back at a later portion of the meeting to finish those reports up. And while we're moving to other portions of the meeting, if we could just check, because what I'm seeing is that the secured and the guest internet connection, it's not showing that it's, did it go out? Yeah, so we'll maybe need to come back to that. So what we have on our agenda after reports is public period. At this time, is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period? This is a time when members of the public can address the mayor and council, state your name and your address, and you will have 2 minutes to provide comment. If we can answer the question at this time, we will. If not, we'll assign it to an appropriate department head or official who can get back to you at a later time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period at this time? Okay. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? No. All right, hearing none, public period is now closed. And next we will move into legislation for action. And the first item of legislation we have this evening is ordinance number 01-25. This is an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, authorizing and approving a lease of real property from the new owner of the leasehold premises located at 5410 Indian Head Highway, tax account number 12-135-4836, as office space for the police department in the town of Forest Heights, and generally relating to the leasehold acquisition of real property for a public purpose. I move that we adopt ordinance number 01-25.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 01-25. Discussion.
Overview, please.
Councilmember Little, what was that?
Can we get an overview, please?
Okay, so this ordinance is approving a lease in the space that the police department currently has in the same premises they have, so it doesn't increase or decrease the size. It is a renewal of a lease, but it's with a new owner. Since we signed the original lease, a new person or a new entity has purchased that building. And so this is a lease to begin a commitment of 5 years, of which the rent will increase a certain number of dollar amount each year, but it begins at $2,500 per month. Anything else to add here, Chief Reese or Mr. Jackson?
No, sir, that pretty much sums it up.
Council President, who's first? Councilmember McDonald.
I have a quick question. So this is a month-to-month lease? Or it's a 5-year commitment, not a month-to-month? Is that what I understand?
That's correct.
That's correct. Currently right now, we're in month to month because he's the new owner. And the other lease has subsided. So we're trying to just create a lease with him for 5 years.
So that means that we are binded in a contract that if in the event we come up with something different to occupy another space, we couldn't entertain that because we would be locked into the contract.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Council President Noble.
My question, Chief, I see in the, or maybe Mr. Jackson, I don't know, that the portion for the utilities is 5.72. But do we have anything to base this on? Because it says, well, I guess it's water, electric, and gas. Because if we're starting at 2,500, I just want to make sure that the utilities aren't so high.
Council President Noble, I did not work those numbers. We'll have to defer to Mr. Frankenfield or the mayor.
Yep, Mr. Frankenfield, if you could, I see his hand raised.
Yeah, so you typically see that with commercial lease obligations. So I assume the town has about whatever the percentage is here, 5.72%. So that's the town's fair share of the total utilities for the property. Not sure if that answered your question, but
Council President Noble, did that?
It's sort of, but not really. Because what I guess my question is, now, do we have any historical based on that building, seasons, and how much the utilities would be?
yeah, I think we could pull it from their prior lease payments because they're billing us monthly for it as well.
Yeah, so but currently, it may be a little hard because we are the only occupant in that building. So obviously there's nobody else running water, anything like that. So the utilities that are being used will be solely based on our usage for Suite 100. But I can see if he may have some historical bills because it was a struggle to get all of the bills put in his name because of the previous owner left a balance. So I can find that out. I can.
Thank you, Chief Reese and Council President Noble. Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, my question is, if I'm understanding this, is that for I'm reading the whereas on the first page where it says $5,000 deposit, 250, 2,500 in the first year versus the past rent of 3,000 under the owner to increase approximately $100 for each of the following 5 years, $100 a month, each month for 5 years. Is that correct?
Mr. Frankenfield.
Yeah, that's standard language in lease contracts where the landlord demands an increase annually.
Every month, $100 is gonna be increased, so we're gonna be paying additional $1,200 each year.
Yeah, on an annual renewal. Each year, the rent goes up $100.
No.
So it'll go up a total of
It
500.
says $100 a month. That's $1,200. So you're not paying 2,500 anymore. You're paying, what's that,
Cor-
3,700.
No, it's, well, let's look at the same paragraph. You're on
Okay.
the first page.
Uh-huh.
And which paragraph number?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereas the proposed base indicates certain amount terms.
Yeah, that means that on the annual renewal date, so after 12 payments, it goes from 2,500 to 2,600. After the 24th payment, it goes from 2,600 to 2,700. So it only increases one time per year at an increase of $100 per month.
That doesn't make sense. You're saying instead of paying 2,500, you're paying 2,600.
Yeah, so I'm saying for the first 12 payments, the
Mhm.
first year, you would pay 2,500.
Mhm.
And starting on payment 13,
pay
you would
20.
pay 2,600 for the next 12,
Right, so
starting on,
that's right, so that's an additional $1,200 per year,
exactly. Yep,
plus the 5.7% of the utility cost. And then it automatically renews after 5 years. Oh, this is, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield and Councilmember Brownson. I think in section 3 of the ordinance, it states the town council of the town of Forsyth hereby authorizes and approves the lease of said leasehold property. And further, a little further in there, it says for a rental price of 2,500 in the first year and 2,600 in the second year, increasing incrementally until in the final year, in year 5, it would reach $2,926.65. Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion on ordinance number 01-25?
I just have one more question.
Councilmember Brownson.
Is it possible to get a year's lease?
So the reason why we elected to go with 5 years is because the new owner he took down the rent from our previous rent, because the prior owner, we were paying $3,000 a month, which will go up with the same type of contract. So for a longer commitment, he decreased the rent for us now, which is 2,500 versus the regular 3,000 that we were doing, which we thought was, financially stable for us, because we're saving $500 that we were previously paying the previous owner. But if we go back to him, he will probably increase the monthly on us. That's the issue. So it will probably go back up to 3,000 a month or closer to that.
So after having brought this ordinance back for the second time, is there anything that council, whose hand is up? That's Mr. Frankenfield. Anything council is feeling is a suggestion that helps us to get to where we need to be, or any feedback based on what we have in front of us tonight? Council President Noel.
I guess my question, or what I would like to see, if it went to 3,000, would that include the utilities? Or would that be an additional fee?
I would have to pose those questions to the representative of the property. I would not know. This is what we negotiated.
Okay, because I guess my question is, if it's 2,500 and say the utilities, whatever, it is 500, then we're back to 3,000. But if the 3,000 included the utilities, then I guess long-term commitment, I know we're saving because we're going for 5 years, but at the same time,
I do know that it is definitely his purview to, we are going to pay whatever the rental may be, we are going to pay a share of the utilities. So that's across the board, whatever how many years it is. I think right now the question is how much money do we want to spend a month, or how long do we want to commit? I mean, I can pose that question to him now, see if I can get an answer if you want, Mr. Mayor. It's up to you all.
If there's a scenario that is more amenable, so like Council President, what would be a scenario that was amenable? Like what term of years or what at what dollar amount? Because we did spend some time going back and forth before presenting the proposal, trying to balance the needs of the town and the desires of the property owner, as they're someone who recently bought the property and they have significant investment they need to make over the next few years outside of this suite and including property.
I guess for me, it would be, what is the difference between a 3,000? And would that include the utilities or not? And then the other, can it be a shorter term? I think that may be the other part. Because I know the building will need improvements, so it's almost like what's in their plan for that building, right? Because they could sell it too.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember McDonald.
And I think that's why I brought up us being, we'll be pigeonholed into this 5-year contract. I think we need to know more about their positioning in terms of not just the rent, but to Council President Noble's point, the repairs and all of those kinds of things. Also, Chief Reese, is this the only, I would say, choice that the police department has in terms of occupying a space?
Leave, so with being said, so this time it's a little different because the owner is going to be an occupant as well. So he's investing into the building for his own practice. He's a local dentist that's investing into it. He is willing to, anything that needs repair, he will do that. And he has done that since has taken over ownership. The second part of your question is there anywhere else currently for us to move in and operate? Currently right now, no. For the space that we need, I think that we also have the attorney looked at it, and this is probably with the comps in the area. This is about the rent. I think we're actually getting a little cheaper per the square footage. Because we're so close to the National Harbor, which drives the commercial rates up. But right now, no, not in this area.
So a follow-up, I'm just curious as to the staff and what they're feeling and saying about the space. I'm just curious.
I would say that for our police department, the space that we're currently in now, for the operation that we're running, it is small. It is. It's not conducive to what we need to run a police department, because we're running the majority of the offices out of that. Storage is still here at the town municipal center. But I believe that we just need something to get by until we know a permanent solution. And we've been looking for that for quite a while.
Let me go to Mr. Best. Did you have your hand up still, or was that a mistake?
No, I did raise my hand, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm talking to you from my home where I grew up in Indiana. I'm home for a funeral, but getting to this lease and talking about, I want to stress that it is typical that when you enter into multi-year leases like this, you do so in order to drive down the monthly rent cost, and that has been done. And I will say that before the foreclosure action took place about a year ago, the town was paying rent to the church an extra $500 per month. This particular landlord has allowed a great deal of latitude whereby the town has been allowed to go on a month-to-month lease for a very long period of time and then negotiated a 5-year lease with a deduction of $500. Now, the 5.72 is basically the town's share of the carrying cost for the landlord. And that's not going to change no matter how you negotiate the monthly rent. So what's going to float on a negotiation is that monthly rent amount. And if you change the term to say 3 years or 2 years or 1 year, it's going to drive up dramatically that monthly rent cost. So, I will say that I think this landlord has negotiated in good faith and has provided a fair and reasonable rent based on what was charged before, which, amounts to a $500 deduction. So sometimes when you get back into the details of this, you can open up a Pandora's box and you may not like what results if you go back and for suffice it to say, frustrate the landlord for something that's been negotiated for several months. This lease has been in the works for at least 6 months, I believe. So
Yes,
that's
thank
all
you.
I have to say
Thank
for
you,
now.
Mr. Best. Thank you,
I'll
sir.
yield to Mary Lily. Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson.
I'm sure you have, but I just want to see, have we negotiated the benefit of having a police department in the building? Have we sold what our values to him?
Yes, we did,
Right.
and we did. It's how the negotiation began, and the landlord's agreement to come down on the monthly cost was because of the benefit that the officers and the department provide by being in close vicinity. So yes, that's how we began the negotiation. We stressed that, and it's why we waited such a long time before we brought a proposal forward. We tried to get as much as we could out of this deal. And so, yes. Council President Noble.
I think on good faith that the police department could very well be there for 5 years. But at the same time, if something should occur, I think we need a reasonable good faith, like we've been with the owner, is how to get out of the lease. Not this, yes, because I think you may be there 5 years, right? Or you may not, something may come up. I thought we talked about the building that on Oxon Hill Road that the chairman, Ed Burrows, had, that was thinking about for our police department. So something else may occur. I guess just on good measures that we would consider, just we commit to 5, but just another out. Because I negotiate leases too, Mr. Best. Thank you.
Chief.
Mr. Mayor, your will, we can have Attorney Bastis put what the council president is speaking of. Maybe include that in the lease, have him do negotiations with their portions if you want. It's up to you.
Well, it sounds like the council wishes that we ask, or we just ask again for what can be done to sweeten the deal. Does that sound accurate? Not that we have already done this, but I just want to make sure I understand what the council's will is on this.
It's more so flexibility. I just have an issue with being pigeonholed into a contract that could change.
Okay.
If we were certain that we were gonna be at 5410 without any other options or thought around moving from that place, that would be something different. But if we're pigeonholed without any flexibility to be out, then we're still gonna be obligated to pay
Correct.
regardless.
Councilmember Brownson.
And we still, I thought, had the cleaners that was gonna be the police department, and we still paying a lot of money for that space for the police department. So, I mean, we paying a lot of money for two spaces. So I think we need to rethink something here. What we're gonna do with that space, what we're gonna, and then a 5 year, I'm sure something could happen to that $120,000 going down to the clinic for 5 years. That's a lot of money. Then we're getting a lot of money to this space, so, and we don't have money, and that's another thing. We don't have money here in the town.
I think some questions pointed out are strategic ones though. So they're ones we make with a lot of data and consideration for long-term planning. I see 2 hands up. I might go back, but I would also just add that there's the town's perspective and then there's a business owner's perspective whereby we've got to meet somewhere in the middle. And the contracts, when you lease property, they purposely have terms that don't allow both parties to terminate at will as easily because there's costs for releasing, there's costs when a building is not leased in between vacants or in between tenants. But if it's the council's will, we will ask. But we're just trying to give ourselves a medium-term solution since we have multiple projects in flux. We are finishing up the final audits to understand the town's true financial position, and we're trying to build a position of strength from there. The decision about the cleaners and some of the other properties that we have, and also the coming National View project, if it materializes, are longer range strategic decisions we should be making with a lot of information, input, feedback, and thought put into them. But I'm looking at staff now. If we could ask the question and see if there's a way we can make the terms more appealing to the town in the event that we have another space to occupy before the 5 years is out, we'll bring the answer back from the landlord, my apologies. And I think we have what we need as far as this ordinance goes. Any other further discussion on ordinance number 01-25?
Mayor,
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes, Mr. Frankenfield.
Chief, is the lease drafted? Do we have a start date yet? Or we're looking for approval to get the lease drafted? Because I'm just wondering if we're starting back from July, so we've got 9 months in the books already.
So no, this one was supposed to start in April. And so I guess we kind of tweaked because we presented it last month. So but we can get back to them.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield and Chief. Any other discussion on this before we move to the next item on the agenda? Council President Noble.
Last question, when we go back to them, could we just get approximate, cost for the utilities for the different seasons? Thanks.
Thank you, Council President Noble. All right, next we will move to Resolution 16-25. This is a passport parking management resolution to approve a proposal regarding a software license and service agreement between Passport Labs Incorporated and the town of Forest Heights, the town, for mobile payments and citation management for parking digital platform. I move that we adopt Resolution 16-25. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 16-25. Discussion. Chief, if you could just give another another highlight for this one and just touch on some of what was presented at the last meeting.
Absolutely. So this is passport parking management. This is the solution that we have chose for two things. For the enforcement portion of parking citations, that's when the officers are giving citations to violators. That's a way to us to keep track of when we issue citations. So this will help us with some of the issues that we have currently in town. The second portion of it is this also allows us to coincide with vehicle permits. So obviously there's certain areas in the towns that residents have elected to have permit parking because parking is so scarce in the area. This system will allow to also do the enforcement, but also do the permit parking to where it's that we can craft it how we want to craft it. It's not like how anybody else. So if we can make the cost for guest parking, how many permits that we have to do, it's not like that the person has to come to the police department. They can literally do everything online 24/7 if they need to. And this will also help us with that.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Is there any discussion? I see Council President Council President Noble. My apologies.
That's okay. Chief, with the permit parking that we're talking about for the residents, if they elected to get a permit, but they have an out-of-state tag, would it still issue them a permit?
No, so literally this portion we control. So going forward, now that's not going, we're not enforcing that now. We want to get the enforcement portion now up and running, but the permit parking is something that we would have to have an in-depth discussion with you all to see how that looks. Now, we did adopt something maybe about 2 years ago for residential parking, but we would have to literally dissect that and see how that looks. Because we may want to change something in there. But obviously to your question, the state of Maryland has a process for people that reside in Maryland but still hold a out-of-state registration, which they can get a out-of-state permit from the MVA. But that's showing that they've submitted the proper paperwork, saying that they may be in the military, they may be traveling for a long distance, things like that. So those are the items that we as a town can put in place for our program, that they have to display that and showing that they submitted it.
Thank you, Council President Noble. Any further discussion on resolution 16-25?
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald.
So the passport, the solutions proposal, it's a 3-year contract, Chief Reese,
Yes, ma'am.
and it goes into effect 90 days from receipt of the payment.
Yes, ma'am. So there is a $1,000 implementation. So that's when basically it's for them they have to literally put in all of our ordinances for parking into the system. And obviously with the portion that I was just speaking about, how they have to work with the town to see how that permit parking actually looks. I'm gonna say it's gonna take us at least a month as having meetings with the residents, giving that feedback to the company and for them to craft it, because it's not something that we're getting from somewhere else. They're literally crafting it to our needs. So that's where it comes in place.
So what are some of the, I guess, milestones that we could look at in terms of deliverables or markers that would help us to see the success rate of this?
So what I can say is, with this system, we will start to see an improvement with our parking situation. What I can say is there's certain violations that we see that are most common. that we can maybe enforce a little bit more, obviously. Let's say such as a 72-hour violation where a car sits on a public street for more than 72 hours. Right now, there's no mechanism for the officers to know who issued what prior to, because we're still using PDF or carbon copy. With the system will tell in real time, hey, officer, Sonora was this at that vehicle 3 days ago. She works on a different shift, and she can go and say, hey, this vehicle is up for a violation to issue a citation. It will literally do it, and they don't even have to contact Sonora anymore. That's one of the milestones. And the other portion of it is different ordinances that you all may change that we may need to enforce. We may need to increase the fines for some of the things like that. May need to revisit the commercial vehicles. This mechanism will be sure to enforce, because not only what they are doing, they were issuing violations, but they're going to send reminder notices to them that we don't have to do anymore. They're going to do the collections for us. I believe that this is spot on. And they're also going to do the NBA flag hold. So anybody that does not pay their citations in a timely fashion, they're going to put a hold on their registration on our behalf.
And that, just to follow up, and to that point, if it's a car that has a Virginia tag, but is a resident of the town, then how would that be rectified?
So we're saying that now we always have to remember, if the car is registered in Virginia and is parked on the public roadway, it is still properly registered. Still properly registered through the state of Virginia. Now, obviously, there have been some legislation that they've recently changed but we still have to wait for people who's already putting that in place for their tags to expire. Now, the only way that we can get around that currently is that if we implement residential parking on that specific area, because they would have to submit paperwork. We're not going to accept a Virginia registration unless you have an out-of-state tag permit. But if you do, we're going to say, no, you can't park. You have to get valid Maryland registrations, would then entail them to go back to Maryland, pay their past violations, which was probably ours anyway, for our speed camera. And that will be an increase. And we're forcing them to adhere to the rules in the state of Maryland. But other than that, no. If there's properly registered out of state, the only thing we can really enforce is if it's not parking there for more than 72 hours.
And the last thing, Chief Reese, this is paid out of a grant, correct?
No, so this is not paid. This $1,000 is something that we looked into the budget to see where it can come from. We think that we have a good space for that. I believe that we would have the amount of volume of citations that we're going to issue to subside that.
Okay.
So that's what I would.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Mr. Frankenfield, did you have a question or something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that line picked, Chief. Now, I don't know if we're going to have disbursements in fiscal year 25, but that budget line we used is full for this year. So it sounds like you mentioned 90 days, so we're probably not going to see a bill until fiscal year 26. But we should come up with a cost proposal. Like I saw a handheld device. If you need that, it's an extra $1,800. We should get this in the 26 budget.
No, we're not using none of their stuff. He was just giving us price just to give us information wise. We currently can use for our cell phone provider, which is T-Mobile. They're going to provide all of the devices for us. We're not purchasing anything from the company. And to answer your question, it's going to take this program probably is not going to start until the new fiscal year. So we don't have to worry about it because too much information into it.
Thank you, Chief Reese and Mr. Frankenfield. There's just one other item I'm noticing on this, Madam Clerk, which is we will just need to update council president has changed since the legislation was introduced. So we'll just need to update that. So we have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution. I move that we amend resolution 16-25, changing the council president from Councilmember Jamila McDonald to Council President Paula Noble.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend resolution 16-25. Is there a discussion?
I just have one question, if you don't mind.
Just a minute. We have the motion. Is it about the motion or is it about the resolution itself?
Resolution.
Okay. Yeah, just give us one moment. So I will amend the motion to state that we are going to amend resolution 16-25 to change the council president line and then also the date of passage from the 16th of April to the 5th of May. Is there a second on that?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend resolution 16-25, updating the council president and the date of passage. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Are there any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Councilmember Bronson.
I thought I heard the treasurer said that this line item was for 2025 and it won't be passed until 2026. Is that what he said?
Do we need an
Yeah.
amendment to change that, Mr. Frankenfield?
Yeah, I would say my amendment would be annual budget for fiscal year 26. And that's that last paragraph, or be it further resolved. Include an annual appropriation of $12,000 annually at a new budget line under the Public Safety Department.
All right, I'll just give the clerk a moment to capture those notes and changes. Yes, Madam Clerk. We actually need to do a formal motion to do the other changes that Mr. Frankenfield just mentioned, but those are the ones I'm going to propose. Is there an offer on the amendment for the changes that Mr. Frankenfield just stated? I know it was a lot, so I'll just do it. I move that we amend resolution 16-25 further, changing the fiscal year that it will be, that the funds will be taken from to FY26 from FY25. And then we are going to be adding a line item under public safety for an expenditure of $12,000. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we update and amend resolution 16-25 further, changing the year that it will be implemented from FY25 to FY26 and adding a line item under public safety with an expenditure of $12,000. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So resolution 16-25 is amended further. Now I move that we adopt resolution 16-25 as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 16-25 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, next we will move to,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, if we could go back to the emergency ordinance 0125, we moved on. However, there was a motion on the floor. Can we go back to make a motion to table? Thank you.
yes, Madam Clerk, thank you for recognizing that. The motion that we had on the floor at the moment was to adopt, correct?
Correct.
All right, I move that we postpone ordinance. And it should be, actually, it should be, we'll do this later. I move that we postpone emergency ordinance number 01-25 to a later date. It's to be determined, because the resolution or the ordinance will come back once the questions council has asked have been answered and satisfied. Is there a second on postponing resolution ordinance number 01-25?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
It has been moved and seconded that we postpone emergency ordinance 01-25 until a later date to be determined. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So that item will be postponed to a date in the future, which is to be determined once information is gathered. Now we'll move on. Anything else, Madam Clerk, that we need to, any housekeeping items we need to clear up?
No, sir.
Now we will move to resolution 26-25. This is a resolution of the mayor and town council of Forest Heights, Maryland, accepting 3 fiscal year 2026 Vision Zero grants from the Maryland Department of Transportation, MDOT, in the total amount of $90,000 to support occupant protection, speed reduction, and impaired driving enforcement, and authorizing the chief of police to utilize said funds for strategic traffic safety operations and education initiatives pending final appropriation from the state. I move that we adopt resolution 26-25.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 26-25. Now, I just read through a couple of items, so we'll go into discussion now and I'll give a brief highlight. Under this resolution, which is a measure that can be taken by the mayor and town council of Forest Heights, it would help to enhance public safety, targeting seatbelt use, speeding, and impaired driving to reduce traffic injuries and fatalities. It uses and brings in state funding, secures up to $90,000 in NDOT grants at no cost to the town, enables focused enforcement, supports targeting patrols and strategic traffic operations. It supports outreach on safe driving behaviors, and it requires clear tracking, reporting, and compliance with state and federal rules. It also helps to strengthen our coordination with county and state agencies for broader impact. Chief Reese, anything else to add in relation to this resolution for council?
No, sir. This is it.
Is there any other discussion on resolution 26-25? Okay, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Actually, I'm sorry. It took me a second to unmute. Can I ask a question?
Yes, we'll go back to discussion. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you. This is going to be for the chief. If you don't mind, please, for anybody else who might be watching this or might watch this later on, can you just give it, explain this in layman term, what we plan on using this money for?
Yes, sir. So so this will be the first one will be Vision Zero, which is through occupant protections. For the police officers will target it for seatbelt enforcement, seeing if any driver or passengers are wearing their seatbelts. The second one will be speed reductions. What we do, obviously, we're on 210, whereas that we do have other devices to whereas that we can make sure monitor the speed in our incorporated area. Which we will do targeted stops if anybody's violating the speed limit. We'll do an education portion of it, and two, we're not saying that we're just going to issue citations. It could be a various of warnings as well. third thing will be impaired driving, which will be driving under the influence, which obviously we love the portion of that. This is a grant because this is targeted and enforced because it most people don't know that it takes an officer roughly about 2 hours for one stop to do a impaired driving stop, which takes them off of the street. This time we can offer grant funds to where it's that somebody can come in on their off time and do this enforcement, and we don't have to sacrifice patrol. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. That last part is what I was actually looking for.
Sure.
So that way, people know what we plan on using this for directly. So appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I have a question, Chief Reese. I'm just curious to know if there would be any thought around using these resources for individuals who say have dementia issues, or persons who are experiencing autism, persons who are on the autism spectrum, things of that nature, seniors who might have some issues driving or when they're driving. Is that any thought around that?
So this, I can say yes, because you also have the portion of it of education wise. So where it doesn't have to be, you can probably use this funds to hold like forms or something like that, just the education portion. We can use this funds to buy different information that we want to pass out to people. I do see that people with cognitive issues, we can do that as well.
I would
And
like to
working
see
with
that.
probably our partners with
Dementia
dementia friendly,
Mhm.
we can probably partner with them as well for the educational portion of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Any other discussion for resolution 26-25? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mayor,
please-
I had a question, please.
Yes, Mr. Frankenfield.
Chief, what are the budgeted expenses of the grant? Just salaries and overtime, fringe benefits, or is there any out of pocket or out of budget spending?
No, this is totally covered with the grant. Let me make sure I don't want to speak out of turn with the details. Let me bring in Mr. O'Connor just in case.
Sure. So for this particular grant, the expenses are overtime for law enforcement officers and the fringe that is associated with any of that particular overtime. The state is not giving any administrative expenses for anything other than law enforcement services because they're operated on individual campaigns.
Got it. And start date of fiscal year 26?
Yeah, FY26 start based on the state award for these particular grants in FY26 and the governor signing the budget, which we know passed.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Mr. Frankenfield. Any further discussion on resolution 26-25? Going once, going twice. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, next we will go into new business. We have ordinance 03-25, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Forsyth, Maryland, to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget and authorize its amendment by resolution. This item is on the agenda for the first time and will be on the agenda again for next meeting when there will be a fiscal year 2026 budget hearing. So this item is not being passed tonight, but it is here for discussion. And first, I'd like to have Mr. Frankenfield just give some updates because since the original version of the budget was presented to council and to committee late last month, there have been a few changes and adjustments. Mr. Frankenfield?
Yes, thank you all. Good evening. Mayor and council, the changes that have come through this budget, since you saw it in its draft form, there's clerical corrections we made. Most of the changes are about the grants, and this time of the year is a challenge because we're 2 months ahead of fiscal year end. So we work on what's left over from the grants that are in hand and what'll be available for next fiscal year. So that was the nature of my questions. One thing I want to call out for you with this year's budget before we get into the line by line details. We talk a lot about liquidity and fund balance and being able to meet the obligations to pay the bills and the salaries of the town. One thing you'll see through this budget is we have increased our fund balance from where we started the year by approximately 250,000. I'll give you the real number here in a minute. 254,000. The key thing for me is that puts more cash in the town's bank account. So we are prepped for the future. We are prepped for sustainability. We do have some reserves for any budget surprises that occur as we move forward. So I'll yield there. I'm happy to entertain questions. I'm happy to go line by line.
Mr. Frankenfield, if you could give just the specific updates you recently sent, changes in the budget since the first time it appeared on the agenda, which would have been April 16th.
Okay. Basically, the only significant change, well, let's talk that through. So line by line, we had the finance committee meeting last weekend. We got some input from the finance committee. The thing I would call out, let me start from the top. So changes, I added 2 grants to revenue. There were the warrant and gun violence grants that we added for fiscal year 26. That passed as legislation 2 meetings ago. The police recruitment grant for 50,000, added that to the budget. The MNCPP community and youth grant, we added $175,000 in revenue to the budget. That was the only changes in revenue. Questions there?
Yes, Mr. O'Connor's on the line I believe he's on the line. Yes, he is. For the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Project Charge grants, what's the deadline by which we have to use those? Because I know they were awarded this year. Can they go in and support spending in FY26, or can they only be used for FY25, or basically the next less than 60 days?
So the Maryland Park, the one from Prince George's County that currently there with Preston, it needs to be used in FY25, and the project charge needs to be used by FY25 because it was technically awarded later, but it was for the FY25 budget year. So the county and park and planning just got around to actually awarding it later. So those are FY25 grants.
So
there's a separate one that's for FY26.
Okay.
So there is a separate one for FY26. So I just want to delineate the two because I know Mr. Frankenfield's talking about separate ones, and then there's another one for FY25. So we have 2 pots of money. One's for FY26, one's for FY25.
Okay, to clarify, the MNCPP 175, if we don't have eligible expenditures in fiscal year 25, we cannot carry that over in fiscal year 26.
We would probably have to request for a carryover to 26, but any of those charges are supposed to be done in FY25.
Okay. I think, yeah, I'll share
And-
with you offline, but I think we should request an extension because I see us having a hard time of meeting that.
I agree. I know, and we spoke about that, Mr. Mayor. But the grant itself, just so we're all on the same page, is retroactive. So we can go back and look at any expenditures for beautification or personnel related to PAL or anything like that and apply it. So if there's any expenditures that we have that fit into those budget categories, we can go ahead and recoup some general fund money that might have been expended and replace it with grant funding through the project charge grants. So that's something we're actively working on together.
Okay, so just final answer on the grants though. Have we been awarded one for FY26 yet?
Yes, we are. Yes.
And what was the amount for that one? That 175 for FY26 as
No,
well?
the one for FY26 is I'd have to try and pull it up.
Okay, so we'll let you pull that up and then I'll go to questions from council. In the meantime, I'll go to Councilmember Bronson first and Councilmember McDonald.
Okay, this is a revenue question. For the smaller grants, like the CBT grant, are they lumped someplace else? Or they're not showing here? The Chesapeake Bay Trust grants.
That's in 25.
So that means it got to be spent in 25?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. O'Connor, can you confirm
just
on the, just a minute, Councilmember Bronson. Mr. O'Connor, can you confirm on the Chesapeake Bay Trust award that was recently awarded the town? I believe the amount was $20,000, education and stormwater stewardship. Does it need to be used before the end of the fiscal year?
The stormwater stewardship grant is not FY25 applicable due to the revolving nature of the award. The community garden grant for $9,500, which we've already received the check for, will and must be spent in FY25.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember Bronson?
So the 20,000 can go to 26.
Yes.
So are they on here someplace where I'm missing it?
No, that's the first I heard of the 20,000 grant. So we can amend for it to include it in the budget.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so that one now needs to be added to the budget for 26 because it is revolving. Councilmember McDonald.
So it has to be spent in 25. So the performance period or the period of performance is January the 15th for the CBT. January 15, 2025 to January 15, 2026. Is that correct? According to the award agreement? Just trying to make sure I'm clear.
Yes, you're correct, Council President.
Yes,
and
sir.
I mean, Council Member McDonald. Sorry.
Okay, and then I
Force
had
of
another,
habit.
no worries. And then I have another question about the DOJ cops hiring grant, Chief Reese, or somebody who is clear about that. It says this will be
Yes.
completed in September 2025 and that the revenues have been received.
That's accurate. Yep. So the cops hiring grant, I think the specifics were the town received $500,000 to hire 4 police officers starting in possibly 22 or 23. As part of that agreement, the town had approximately $250,000 as match. Match means the town spends its own money to receive the grant dollars. We have received our $500,000 in revenue. We're spending out our match, which will be completed at the end of 9/30 of 25. So all we're doing is spending town money. The grant is completed on the revenue side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. All right, so we had a number of questions and answers on the revenue side. Was there another portion you wanted to move to now, Mr. Frankenfield.
Yep, I'll move into appropriations. So I'm in the budget book, page 11. 11 summarizes all the appropriations by department. And there's a chart there on page 11. You could see where the town is spending each percentage of its dollars. Just flagging that for your information. Now I'm on page 13. We had some comments in the finance committee about how to address we initially labeled it, we called it the Christmas bonus. I think last year we brought up legislation in December so that the staff could be bonused as a Christmas gift. This year, we're starting the year with this bonus in the budget. And in conversations with the finance committee and the mayor, we talked about, well, is it staff recognition or is it a gift? So just flagging, we changed the name of it. And the mayor said, hey, I wanted to get feedback from the council on how we administer the program. I don't know that we have to do that tonight, but just bringing that to the attention of the group.
On that note, that item was updated in the budget based on past discussions to employee performance bonus. So with us adding it in the budget in the beginning of the year, we have a chance to go through a process, town administrator and the mayor, to report to the council the method by which it will be awarded based on performance. You can continue, Mr. Franco. I just wanted to add that note of specificity there.
Sure. Okay, I'm moving on to general government budget. Something that came out of the finance committee meeting was to increase the appropriation for codification, just for visibility and tracking purposes. That's the only thing that changed in the general government. One note I want to flag is copier lease 90037038. We originally had it appropriated at approximately $40,000. The mayor is going to work with the TA. We're going to review, hey, do we have too many copiers on site? Do we need to cancel any contracts? Is there cost savings available for the copier? So we decreased that appropriation since the prior version of the budget that you all saw, from approximately 40 to 30,000.
A caveat there too is that we are beginning the transition to LPI for printing the newsletter, and the main expense that myself and leadership knows about related to copying is the newsletter. So we expect the cost for the copier to go down substantially. It should be much less than even the new lowered amount to 30,000. But what we're doing is I'm working with Mr. Jackson to determine which printers we have, what the agreements are, make sure that we can really reduce that number to what it's supposed to be. And so we expect that number to actually be lower, but it was reduced to 30,000 just because we know we're going to be spending a lot less once we transition the newsletter. You can continue.
There's a couple hands, Mayor. Do you want to ask questions?
Okay. I'm seeing Councilmember Kennedy.
Okay, so we basically just got a nice new larger machine that would have enabled us to stay on top of newsletters and everything else. How many more years are we locked into it? I guess we'd have to look at that contract to see what was included prints wise per month, per quarter, to see if we can lower that, or if we still ever need this machine that's twice the size of what we used to have.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Mr. O'Connor, do you have something to add related to the printer or the copier?
Oh, well, I'll get that information over to Mr. Jackson now that I'm aware of it. so I can help him out with that and with the 2 copiers, because we're not really bound in on that bigger copier due to quite a few issues. So I'll send him some emails related to customer service on that. And they're pretty flexible, but I wanted to answer your question on the grants just before you got too far along, if I may.
Which grant?
The project charge specifically.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so for fiscal year 25, we have $62,500 for beautification that needs to be recouped. Any expenditures that we might have had related to beautification out of the general fund can be recouped by that $62,500. Then we have the youth and community programming, which is $175,000 that needs to be recouped. And of course, that does house some of the salary or administrative expenses related to an employee. So we do have that. Now this does, some of this money with the request to park and planning can be carried over, and we should and are expecting the same amount of funding in FY26, and it should be appropriately budgeted in FY26, so we're not having to play catch up again based on the appropriations and the legislation from the county.
So what's the process for requesting a carryover, and how likely is it that that happens? Are there any examples of it having happened before?
Yes, we have done it before.
We've done it before for a past project charge.
Yes, we have. They of course they frown upon it, but in order to get the monies expended, so they don't want to bring it back. It's what they will accommodate it. We'll reach out to Preston. I'll inform him so he's aware. The chair can be made aware that our grant is going to be pushed over because this does come from the chair through park and planning. And we'll just make the notifications. I'll notify Mr. Holland as well. We'll work together as a team. And of course, Mr. Jackson is right there. So he knows what we're going to be doing. I'll pull him in the loop on every single step that we're taking through this. So we should be good to go.
Okay, we'll need to do an update just at the next meeting before we consider adopting the budget to make sure we are on solid ground before including it in the FY26 budget, just as a precaution. Councilmember McDonald?
Yes, 2 questions. So one is regarding the tax rates that has to be submitted by May 16th. Are we
On that item, Councilmember Brownson, Councilmember McDonald, we actually passed the tax rates at the April 16th meeting. So they've been certified by the council and Mr. Frankenfield has them. So they may have already been sent over.
Okay,
But yes, thank you.
thank you. And then the $75,000 that's being allocated in the fiscal year 26 budget for economic development. This was the information that came out in the report around the annexation efforts. Is that in the budget somewhere?
Yeah, under capital outlays at the end of the budget, we included 30 grand for annexation in fiscal year 26.
What page is that, Mr. Frankenfeld?
Page 26,
Okay,
and it's under capital improvement projects.
thank you.
Sure. One question for Mr. O'Connor, and then I'll move on. Mr. O'Connor, can we assume we're getting the 62.5 for beautification in fiscal year 26 as well?
Yes, it's been the standard award for the last 3 years.
Okay, got it. And for the council, I feel very confident the last piece of legislation you passed was accepting an award for beautification and youth and community for fiscal year 25. The town has plenty of beautification expenses to use up the fiscal year 25 award. And this is great news that fiscal year 26 will be re-awarded, because then I'll include it in the budget. So that's all great info. All right. Let's move up to, we talked about general government.
We've got one more question from Councilmember. It's later, Councilmember. Okay, you can continue, Mr. Frankenfield.
Okay, I'm going to move on to public safety. Oh, changes in public safety. The one thing that has changed since the last time you saw the budget was community events. Let me find a line for you. 9007-7257. Police community engagement. So one change we've made to the budget since you saw the last version of this budget was we had appropriated $2,000 for police community events. Similar to the conversation we just had about the challenge of spending the project charge awards for youth and community, we're going to move this spending into the youth and community grant later on in the budget. So what that does is it frees up tax dollars for other services that the town is already providing and moves the community, the outreach type events into the grant dollars. And there was one change I didn't flag in the general government. So I'm going to slide up, just talk that through very quickly. There's also a community events line in general government, 9003-7257, where we had initially appropriated $10,000. And again, same as the conversation we just had for the police department community events, we're going to move that appropriation, move that spending to the project charge awards. So I just wanted to flag that for everybody. Essentially, we're utilizing the grant dollars when we can to replace general fund dollars or tax dollars for savings reasons.
One thing I'll bring up related to events that are funded through the project charges, the advertisements for them, according to the grant agreement that we received in the first year we got it, they need to include a tagline on those flyers that say, made possible in part by the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, or M-NPPC. And they also need to be recreational in nature as well, so that they follow the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning's mission. We had some questions. I see Council President Noble.
Mr. Frankenfield, we talked about this in the Finance Committee meeting, the bank service charges.
Mm-hmm.
FY 25 was 500, FY 26 is 6,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And to give that some context,
Please.
When we considered moving the town's excess cash over from TD Bank, who the town currently contracts with, to the Maryland Local Investment Trust, the conversation was, hey, there's risk with going into an investment pool. Let's see what TD Bank will offer us as far as interest rates. I reached out to our banker. Our banker stated that the town's arrangement was the town didn't pay any bank fees in exchange for essentially no interest. The town was required to have X on deposit at an interest rate. I think the interest rate was about 1%. So the interest was paying for the bank fees. And I said, well, I know what the interest rate environment is. Let's give us what market interest rate is, and we'll see what your fee structure is. And we can measure that moving forward so that we have apples to apples data on whether MGLIP is the best answer for the town. So those changes were happening as of April 1st. We'll have better data as we get a couple months of bank statements on fees, but we anticipate that there will be bank fees in the coming months. And if we deem them to be excessive, then the town has the option to pursue other banking relationships. So that explains that change in the appropriation for fiscal year 26, and happy to field any questions.
Yeah, on that, Mr. Frankenfield, we did, so will we have a recommendation to go into the TD Bank product to earn interest soon?
Yes, so as part of that conversation, TD Bank said they're going to give us 3% on all of our deposits. I think our prior deal was 1.5%, and that washed out the bank fees. So our new arrangement with TD Bank, which was supposed to start in April, was we're getting 3% in interest plus paying our own fees. So I want to give it a couple months of data, and then I'll come back to you with a proposal and say, hey, it's costing us this much to bank with TD Bank. The interest is X. Our net gain or loss is Y. And then if we need to go shop other banks, then we will at that point, or reconsider the MGLIP investment.
All right. Chief Reese.
I'm sorry, I usually don't do this, but I just want to, because I don't want us to repeat the things that we did last year. So I want the council to be fully aware of like the annexations plans that we currently have. Now I do know that it's appropriating here 30,000. I remember when I was the TI, I was looking at this. One of our bills was like 27,000 to the engineering firm. So if it's the council will that we need to plan annexations and we're expecting to do it this fiscal year, it needs to be appropriately funded just to make sure. That's what I wanted to point out. Because when it stuck out to me when I saw $30,000 and I was like, that's only one. And so it needs to coincide with you guys' plan if you want to do it this fiscal year. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chief Reese, for bringing that up. Based on the updated version we have, it's only 30,000 for the year.
That's correct.
Give us just a moment, getting a document, Councilmember McDonald. Okay. I'll let you read that into the record, Councilmember McDonald.
Okay, earlier, Mr. Frankenfeld, I brought up the budget, the fiscal year 26 budget for economic development that included the annexations, and the according to the amount here in the report from Mr. O'Connor is 75,000. So I guess we're trying to just get clarity on, is it 75,000 or is it 30,000? And we've just spent only 30,000.
So the budget, yeah, and we can revise the budget and move forward. Is there any of that we can defer? So as we talk, we go from 30 to 75. We're talking about a $45,000 increase. Starts cutting into savings. We don't have much opportunity to raise revenues, right? So our tax rates are set. 100%, it can be your prerogative to vote it in. I think it's probably good for the town. It increases tax base. The drawback is it takes away from savings. And that gives us a little steeper hill to climb as we talk about 26's budget. So I support it. We can draft the budget with whatever amount you deem, the priority of the town, just takes away from savings at this point.
Okay, so follow up with Mr. O'Connor then. I guess the suggestion of 75,000 came from where, Mr. O'Connor? Because it's just a suggestion. I'm just trying to understand where the number came from.
Yeah, so it came from historical data based on annexations across the county with various different vendors, and the one that we did. For instance, the annexation down 210 to Kirby Hill Road with Livingston Road, that annexation itself was nearly $30,000 just because of the various areas. When we went down to the Virginia line, that was another one that was $27,000. Smaller annexations for small parcels run $5,000 to $10,000, and there's legal fees that are associated. And what we're looking at in the future with the plan that was given to council, and I made sure it was in this report again, just so you would make sure you get it, is some rather large pieces of property with a high economic development impact. So based on that, I came up with 75,000 as a best case scenario. Understanding the fiscal constraints of the town and the position that we're in, if it is possible to get us at $50,000, and then what we can do is we can appropriately plan. I can work with Mr. Jackson and Chief Reese to tailor it to within that budget. And then if necessary, after January, we can come back and say, Mayor and Council, we've had success on these properties. We need to move forward with this one. And is there money available for us to do that? The closer you can get me to 75, the better. Or I should say the town, the better, because we'll be able to accomplish the economic development initiatives that we're going for. But 30,000 is not going to make the mark. We do need a little bit more to be able to get to where we want to go.
Okay, so last follow-up. So those items that you have listed, the Harborside Hotel, the Top Golf, Royal Farms, and so forth, are where the town's tax base will come from, will be broadened.
Yes, yes, and I put some of the potential tax revenue that's there. Of course, those rates are changing, but the answer is yes. And we do have a pre-annexation agreement that is currently with legal that will come to council for Harborside. So this is, and the mayor's worked on that, the chief's worked on, I think the whole team has. You'll be seeing that soon, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for the town.
Thank you.
Council President Noble.
Mr. Frankenfield, could you talk about the line under general government for the network systems, IT phones? It was 35,000 in FY25, and then it's increased to 80,000.
Yeah, so that increase stems from what we see in our historical year-to-date activity. Let me pull it up and I can tell you where we are year-to-date. And so year-to-date, we're at about 66,000 spent on our budget of 35. The majority of what's in that line is, supplies, Microsoft, Amazon, Peak. There is a subscription that came online with Peak mid-year of fiscal year 25. I see bills of about 3,500 on a monthly basis. So that's the bulk of the line. And then there's just a lot of equipment, Zoom, Adobe, those types of office subscriptions that I see. So I think increase in the appropriation is in line with what it costs the town to purchase these products and continue to provide services.
Just on that, when we had our finance meeting, you said we had a contract.
Yeah, I don't contract subscription. It's with Peak. They're an IT service provider. in early fiscal year 24, the town had somebody on staff who could do the networking, wire the printers, those types of IT related things that the town needs to run its business. And then mid-year that staff left. So a subscription was entered to handle that service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield and Council President Noble. So on the peak subscription, we need some more information about that. Do you know what portion of the charges in that category are from the peak subscription versus the other amounts for equipment or supplies?
I would say a third, roughly. So 20 of the 65. And I'm happy to share the details. It's multiple vendors.
You don't have to share the vendors now. I just wanted to know what the dollar amount was. We'll follow up on that a little later. Are there any other questions? Do you have anything else to present on the budget for FY26, the proposed budget?
No, I just wanted to make sure I talked about all the changes.
Okay, we have a question from Councilmember Brownson.
Yeah, I have a question on, and I think we had it at the Ways and Means and Finance Committee meeting. There's a salary contractor under Public Works, and it went from $40,000 to $60,000. And we were wondering what was that and why did it increase?
I believe the vendor, let me pull the records, but I believe the vendor is Bacon Works. On the increase.
Could you say that name again, Mr. Frankenfield?
I said, I believe the vendor is Bacon Works. And Chief or Mr. Belnavis, can you fill in any of this that I'm missing? Is that right? It's Bacon Works?
Yeah, it's Bacon. It's who we pay for one of the employees. It's a third party app.
So that employee
I don't know why it went up to 60, Mr. Frank, but I don't. I mean, is that because of the cost?
So year to date, we had a budget of 40 grand. And year to date, we've spent 44 and we're through April. So I assumed
It's like overtime.
Yeah, I mean,
Overtime
I think
for the snow events and things like that.
I'm sorry.
So if it's 44, it comes with their regular salary line item. So anything that's probably over that will be probably like when we have town events that Public Works is staying over, snow events where they're coming out, not doing their regular business hours. Those are just extras outside of their normal 80.
Okay, but so if you have a regular Public Works employee, their overtime is only $3,000.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have one person.
3,000 is not enough for Public Works.
Well, that's what he has in the budget here. So I'm just using that as an example. But then you're gonna have a contractor that's gonna increase it by 20,000. Whereas, I mean, I don't understand that.
Good question, Councilmember Brownson. Looks like something we need to get further review to figure out what's causing the overage and what the issue is with that for Bacon Works. Council President Noble.
Yes, and I think for Bacon Works, and I don't know for certain, but more than likely they're charging a fee. So they're collecting. So are we in a contract that we have to stay in? And how much are they making off of this contract? Or is it cheaper or less expensive to hire the person outright? or buy out the contract?
Yeah, if we could get that information, I know it may not be possible right at this moment, but if we can get that information, provide a more comprehensive review.
Mr. Mayor.
There's something on this, there's something on the screen. I couldn't see whose hand was up.
That would be me, Mr. Mayor. I can give you the answer right now for Bacon. As well as the IT cost should actually be lower than it is. But for Bacon, Council President Noble is correct. Bacon is a third-party provider of work or a payment conduit for term employees, or I would say contractual employees. It was started several years ago for a flexible workforce in the town. They do charge, and you're likely seeing the increase there because there is a percentage fee that Bacon charges to process payment to the particular individual. To answer the second part of that question without going into too much of a human resources issue, the reason Bacon is used is because of some prohibiting factors surrounding that particular situation, which is best either served in a closed session and or with the town administrator. And related to IT, that cost should actually go down because of the fixed costs that were associated. We're actually fixing our non-compliance with the state of Maryland laws related to IT and ensuring that the police department could connect to CGIS, as well as we were up on INET. And the chief and I worked diligently on that. And we reduced about $100,000 worth of costs because we were paying for triple subscription services when we started going through. So we should see a lower cost than $80,000 on that, and just the cost of the provider that's keeping us in compliance with INET and the state of Maryland, which is required by law. So we should see a lower cost, Council President. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
All right, there are no further questions. There's one more, Council President.
Last question. On the, for Public Works, under the repairs and fuel, is zeroed out for FY 26. Did we, or did you include that somewhere else?
Yeah, so we don't get great data from the county. So the DPW fleet and the police fleet go to the county's, I'm going to call it their fuel bank, for refueling. We don't get great data on how to split it between public works and public safety. So I say all that to say it's in the public safety budget for fiscal year 26. So it's not that we don't have fuel costs associated with the DPW fleet. It's just budgeted under public safety this year because the police force is the bulk of the town vehicles.
Well, later, I like more information how that works, because I once had a state vehicle and everything is coded. So when you go to the gas station, it's affiliated with that vehicle and that reporting goes back. So I don't know why, and I don't know about the county that there's concern.
Absolutely, yeah. And we would track it separately, but we don't have a great mechanism to split the bills, is where we're at. So we get a bill and it says $5,000 fuel December. And so, I mean, we can do a percentage split, but we don't have the data to get it right between the two departments. So if we could get the data, we can revise that budget line.
Yeah. Let me, on this one, let me ask staff. I think we can keep it separate and track it differently.
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that one for you too, if you want.
Let me go to Chief Reese first on that.
So there is a mechanism to do it. Now, each department, the county, since I've been doing it, I get an itemized, I know who goes to which pump and I know the cost for each department. Now, the issue may be on the finance to break it out of though I didn't know when we changed just lumping it under the police department. So in the past, when what we used to do was we used to get the itemized bill. I take the police department vehicles, put it under the PD fuel. The DPW will put it under their fuel, and the administration will put it under their fuel for the different line items. Now it's just under one, which we can't do it. Like, that's why it's kind of weird to me that it was zeroed out for each other department, and the PD was just, now people just think the PD, just gas is just through the roof. But you can do it. You just got to tell the county who to send it to. I get it every month. So we just have to get on the same page and itemize it each month, like we used to.
Chief, it sounds to me like we could get it coded the right way then in our software, right?
Yes, so if it's in, like, for example, we get the monthly bill for the police department. I get a bill every 30. I mean, I get what the usage is for every 30 days. We put it in the bill.com. We put it in whatever line item it needs to go in, and we submit it.
Yeah, that's the way we'd like to go forward. It'll help us with tracking if we can break them out by department. Since Public Works and Public Safety are not affiliated, it'll help us to track which department is experiencing the bulk of the maintenance, or an increase or a decrease. Also for projecting for, future fiscal years. So let's use the team effort to break it out again, and then to properly code the invoices as they come in.
Mr. Mayor, I can add on to that too.
Say what you said again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It's something relevant related to that process, which I think is important for staff hours, and as well as the county fleet. So the way that's done, it's a manual process when the bill comes in. So Mr. Belnavis will have to go through line by line, delineate the vehicles, pull all that information out, and then submit it in. And I think it was becoming time consuming with DPW doing that. Nevertheless, the county will, now that we're caught up with everything with them, they will create a separate account for the town and the police department, and it'll make the tracking a lot easier. It's just, what'll have to happen is it'll be a new agreement. It'll be everything brand new, just like you did it the first time when the chief brought it forward, and it'll apply the account separately. This way there's not a manual process to do it, because the county is always 30 days, 60 days, 90 days behind on billing. So by the time it comes around and gets to us, and the chief does his part, and then Mr. Belnavis does his, it creates a cycle of time. So anyway, there is a positive process in place for that to happen. I think that's what Chief was saying. So
Thank you. All right. Healthy discussion on the budget tonight. We're going to move on to the department reports so we can get that. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm just requesting permission to step away during the reports to get the document that may be needed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll go to department reports so we can have the staff get those updates. And first, we'll go to, it says interim town administrator report, but it would now be town administrator. Is your mic on? I'm sorry. For the folks who are online and at home.
Can you hear me now?
I
Yeah,
believe
Is it good?
so.
Is it
Yes, now they can hear you. Yeah, you may
Okay.
want to run back
All
to the
right.
beginning of that for those at home.
Yes. I started with greetings, everyone. I confirmed with Chief Reese, who served in this position prior to my appointment, and he confirmed that there were no operational issues to report for the month of April. So my report reflects post April 21st. And as we heard, there's a lot to learn. I've been on a learning tour with staff and various council members, which is all reflected in my report. Just the couple things that I wanted to highlight that we've all been speaking on, and I chose to reserve chiming in to the very end for the sake of revisiting old news or old business. Was that, and I believe Council President Noble brought this up regarding alternative spaces for the police department. One of the matters that I am prioritizing is exploring other options for our police department to go. Now, this is very, very in the interim and the planning stages, so nothing is set on stone regarding the old District 4 police station in Livingston Road. Now, there are a lot of things that have to happen before we even consider this piece of property. But to everyone's point, it would be beneficial to renew the current lease at 5410. However, what that new lease would look like is always worth renegotiation. I did speak with the Honorable Mayor regarding this property. I do have a meeting with the County Council President or Council Chair Burrows next week regarding the property at 7500 Livingston Road to find out what the status is. It could be surplus, it could be up for sale. But if it can be turned over to the town, then that's an option. So that's one of my priorities. Also, I'm trying to revisit or get a grasp of our current insurance rates. I do have a meeting with our current provider tomorrow. There's a slight chance that we may experience the increase, but I would properly notify the council and His Honor, the mayor, with any new revelations. That concludes my report. Going forward, I plan to meet with the remainder of the council and the police staff, and we will begin to set some new expectations for the administrative section of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any questions for Mr. Jackson before we move to the next report? All right, hearing none, we have youth and community programming. Mr. Holland's not here tonight. Did he send anything and the clerk's not in at the moment? You had it? Okay. Well, in his absence, we know the majority of what he helped to take care of recently were the mental health awareness event that members of the town leadership and residents attended over the weekend. He's also been working with administrative staff and will be leading the effort for Forest Heights Day for this year, which will be Saturday, August the 2nd. At an upcoming meeting, we'll bring to the council and before the community the members who will be working on that committee. And as I'm not looking at his report at the moment, I will let the other items be there as they are. All right. Councilmember McDonald. What was that?
Yes, just wanted to mention that there is another Learn to Ride coming up with WABA. So we had the first one of the two we've already had in Mr. Holland was there to support in that effort. So we're looking, we will have a schedule. We had some issues with scheduling, well, not so much issues with scheduling, but some there was a lack of, I guess, participation on the adult side. So, Mr. Holland's looking at how we can, resend that invitation out to, Eventbrite. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Next, we'll move to the treasurer's report. Mr. Frankenfield, do you have any highlights from your report? And after that, if I'll open up to questions if needed.
Now, the only thing I would add from the report is we heard from Mr. DeSalvo this evening. I would flag we're probably 80% of the way through the 23 audit. The journal entries that he mentioned last week, that finalizes the accounting. So now we can give the second audit firm who's working on the 24 audit the go ahead to move forward with all their procedures with the fiscal year 24 audit. So I know that the audit isn't at completion, but it's at the completion that we can get the second firm started and full force on 24's audit. So that's the good news that I wanted to share from his report, even though we hadn't finalized the audit.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield. Are there any questions for the treasurer's report? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, sir. We'll go to the police department report. Chief Reese, any highlights from your report this month?
Not really, sir. Everything's pretty much standard.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Any questions for the police department report? All right, we'll go to Public Works. Mr. Belnavis, so nice of you to join us in person. You like to be with us, and that's nice.
Yes, we love being together. First of all, thank you. I want to just say thank you, Mayor and Council, for this audience. I want to start by saying that we are in need of 2 employees for DPW. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the National Harbor for their generous donation and their time to help us with our entranceways, which is very beautiful. I also want to focus on the beautification that DPW is now doing, from the garden beds to planting new flowers, adding mulch, grass cutting, and doing the repairs of the potholes. 47 to be exact, we had actually gone through.
How many was that?
47 potholes repaired in the town. 11 on the east side, on the east side, the rest on the west. I want to also thank Councilmember Brunson and Public Safety, Chief Reese, Ms. Sonora, and Mr. Nate for a successful ward walk. We were able to address concerns of the residents. Some of the residents, 120 North Huron was a situation with there is a water main that was broken and is now leaking again. Since then, I've had conversation with WSSC inspectors. They assured me that there is a hydrant. There's a hydrant that is in front of the property. And after they went and did their investigation, they noticed that it may be from the hydrant. So they're stating that they will, any damages that occurs from them doing the repairs, they will replace the sidewalk and complete that problem. The other was a dead tree that was on Mohican, was addressed to us. We have since taken that down. 130 Seneca There was another tree that the DPW had gone in and did some pruning, and the tree died. We have since then gone in and removed that tree, the stump. There is a property on 200 Seneca Drive where there is a sinkhole. We thought it was WSSC. WSSC basically said it was not them. It was DPW from Prince George's. They will come out and take care of it. So I've since then reached out to DPW. We should see someone sometime tomorrow to resolve that issue. Just want to also add, at the request of former Council President McDonald's, we were able to complete the Comanche entranceway by taking away that horrible site of dead trees and shrubberies. And so I think that later we will be introducing the flower beds and beautification of that area. That concludes my report. If there are any questions, I will take them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Belnavis. Council President Noble, and I'll go to Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, I had a question. One, with the flags, when they are lowered in the town, if it's possible that we could get a alert why they're lowered, so the community is aware of what we are honoring, just not just to the council, but the whole community. So if we could put that on an alert. And the second, the community garden, we're active in the garden, and we noticed some planters were missing, but I found them. They're right outside this building. And just common courtesy for the gardeners, because we didn't know if they were stolen or what. If you could just let us know when you're taking something from the garden, because that was part of our beautification in the garden. I know you didn't know that, did you, Councilmember McDonald? Just ripped them off. We have perennials in there and everything. So thank you for, and if it's possible, Mayor, if Public Works could put on their schedule to go into the garden, because we've been having water problems. Just that property belongs to the town, so it has to be maintained as well. So if somebody could go in there on a Monday and on Friday, just to make sure water's not dripping, running, that should be part of, I know you're understaffed, but I know you could come over. Thank you.
No, I think Mr. Jackson can help make sure there's a regular visit and regular maintenance that happens at the community garden. Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, Mr. Bell Davis. On your report, you said DPW replaced 8 trash cans damaged by Goody. So my question is, if Goody damaged the trash cans, are they reimbursing the town for replacement?
So basically, Goody, when anytime we keep trash cans on hand on site. So anytime that for those reasons just like that, they're not charging us for it because they give us extra ones. So when obviously it's from over time that the wind blows, that they may be slamming them down or whatnot, what we do is we go out and verify that it is cracked and maybe it's not due to their negligence. If it's like regular wear and tear, we'll take it back and we'll just replace a new one. And then when we give it back to Goody, they replace the one that we gave us so we can have it here on the property. Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Bell Davis, for your efforts. Because
entrance to Comanche Drive was quite a mess. And it was just all kinds of brush and all kinds of stuff built up back there. So I'm glad that you all went over there and really cleaned it out real good, and looking forward to the beautification part of it, which is the second phase to that. I wanted to circle back on your statement about staff shortage. So I'm just wanting to bring that up again because you did say that. I didn't want it to go over with a minimum of concern in terms of your being able to, I guess, do all of the tasks that's being asked of you to do, and the support and the lack of support or, you know, hands to help you do those things. So just wanted to just make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That concludes departmental reports. If I may, I would like to now bring up the mayor's
Actually-
report, since I was able to, Councilmember Kennedy, didn't see your hand.
Thank you. Since you mentioned the trash cans, for the people who have broken lids for the recycle bins, who should they call or report that to?
They would call into the clerk.
For the recycle bins?
Yes,
Or the administrative
for
assistant.
the administration.
Yeah, Miss Payne.
Thank you. And also, since we were sort of talking about beautification, every year we have had a stream cleanup and also dumpsters where the residents can dispose of things that may be a little harder for them to dispose of. Are we planning on doing that this year?
It's not currently on the calendar, but we can add it. Items for the annual calendar as proposed are out. If there's a date or if there's a time, we can look at adding it in the future. We can do that.
Okay. Yeah. So I just had a couple of people ask, so I figure I would bring it up for a definitive answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. If I'm able to share, just go over and show my report on the screen. All right, this is just a report for May 5th for items and actions and events since the last meeting we had on April 16th. We discussed the budget at length tonight. It's been discussed in committee hearings in the past, and so we're inviting residents out to our next meeting, which is when we'll have the hearing for the budget for FY 2026. That'll be Wednesday, May 21st at 8 p.m. In our most recent update from National View, they had a hearing with the Subdivision Development Review Committee with the county. They're currently working on a public use and trail agreement, which will be forthcoming to the council. That will just formalize the entrance points to the development from the existing parts of Forest Heights. And they're also starting to plan for bike trail, walking path, and lighting at the Seneca Drive connection to the property. We have a meeting later this month, and we'll bring the next update. We're hoping we're getting close to the point where they'll be able to come present to the community on a final plan that's been approved by the county, so residents can get a more realistic picture of what's coming, when, and what it will look like. And then also the amenities that will be available to existing Forest Heights residents. We have a recap of some events that have happened recently. These are just some pictures from our Oxen Cove Trail Bridge ribbon cutting ceremony. We were happy to have council out there supporting, as well as Forest Heights Police Department, who we want to thank for escorting people on carts back and forth on that rainy day. We also want to thank the National Park Service. We want to thank the Department of Public Works, who helped set up and break down equipment that day. I want to thank our administrative staff, our clerk, Ms. Chisholm, and our administrative assistant, Ms. Payne, for being on site, providing information, welcoming guests. Our town administrator also joined us that day, as well as the Potomac River Keepers and other community partners, local elected officials, and our residents, most importantly. We have Forsyth Elementary Choir, which is up in the top right-hand corner. They sang at the beginning and at the end, and we always like to have them there. We also had a representative from Congressman Glenn Ivey's office who's in the picture with us presenting citations. Also earlier this month, after the conclusion of the spring camp with the police department, we were able to take a number of young people down to the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition Green Expo and 5K, which was on the National Mall. And at their request, at the request of those young people, we actually went over to the Capitol building as well, because they were very curious. And we had one young lady who knew how many senators there were. She knew that they passed a budget annually. She knew why there were 60 senators and how many people were represented. She was very knowledgeable. So it was a great day. And we want to thank especially Miss Sonora Scott Thomas. Sorry, wow, my computer's going crazy. For your assistance that day. Are we stuck? Okay. I might need to borrow someone's charger. Anyone have one of the HP chargers? It's stuck. Bear with us just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this evening, we had an internet connection issue, at least on my machine. Luckily, the meeting remained in progress, though. So let's just a moment to get back in. All right, right where we picked up. All right, also this weekend, many members of the town council and community were able to attend the Can We Talk Mental Health Symposium, which was hosted by the Boris Henson Foundation for Mental Health, which was started by Taraji Henson, who graduated from Oxon Hill, and District 8 council chair, actually, Edward Burrows III. They partnered and hosted this event, so we were able to attend. And our youth ambassador, who is a student at Oxon Hill, was interviewed for the second time. He was at the event last year, and this year he was also interviewed by WUSA 9, just providing his perspective on the program and its benefits. Our partner in the ribbon cutting, the Potomac River Keeper Network, which has regular cleanups of the Potomac River and Oxon Run, submitted a letter of support for a grant that they are looking to acquire. And they also informed us that they will be donating $1,500 to the Forsyth Green Team for education and activities around sustainability. So we're looking to inviting them to a future upcoming meeting to present that check to the town. And then towards the end of this month, we have a couple of events that we want to invite residents out to attend. On Monday, May 26th, which is Memorial Day, we'll have a Memorial Day Remembrance Breakfast here in the town hall at 9 a.m. It will be free to the community and residents that want to come. It's open to people who have family members they've lost in armed conflicts, also to veterans and other people in the community. This year, we're going to bring a veterans organization that helps families and veterans to get benefits and to work their way through paperwork with the Veterans Administrations and other agencies. They'll be on site here. So in addition to enjoying a meal, residents in the town who need help, healthcare, education, employment, and other services that they're entitled to, we'll have someone here to assist with that information. And we'll also have the commission, the Veterans Commission, beginning to increase their level of effort. They'll be helping people sign up if you want to get your name added to the list of the Veterans Commission to participate in events throughout the year. You'll be able to do that on that day. So we hope you'll come join us and share this with the community. There's one other item that should be in here. It's not in here. On May 31st, we're going to have a Public Works open house. And I don't know if I have the flyer for that. It'll be, it changed. We looked at the calendar, it was changed to May 31st just due to a building availability. It's actually here. So for everyone's attention, we'll have the Public Works open house on that date. It'll be on May the 31st. Here we go. It's going to be a Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in the town hall. And that'll be an opportunity for residents to ask questions and learn more about policies and procedures for picking up trash, about leaf collection, and then also to hear about some of the things that will be coming and some of the effort that the Public Works Department will be doing to serve the town and to beautify and to fix potholes and other projects that affect Public Works. And then lastly, we just want to say Happy Mother's Day early. It's going to be this upcoming Sunday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day to those who are mothers in the audience tonight, and then to those who live across the town. And that's all we have for reports. All right. Did you have something, Councilmember Brownson?
Yes, I want to add, first of all, I have some for new business that I want to report, and I also want to add a closed session for the purpose of discussing, I don't know the number, personnel action, whatever that code is. I want to go in closed session for council.
I don't have the item, but the clerk is actually filling it out for us.
Okay. But I want to talk about something I have for new business. I don't know whether everybody got this email, but it was from Megan Music. And it's she's saying that there is an opportunity for municipalities and nonprofit organizations to get free serve of volunteers to work into the town free of charge, and they'll be paid $15 an hour by the state. She sent it out to everyone, but I just want to bring it up to us and say that could be an opportunity for us to get some help, even in Public Works Department, at the expense of not having to pay for it if we go through the Maryland Corps Service program. So I don't know, I printed out the email, but I think it's a good opportunity. And we can use them for a lot of things in the town, as far as helping out at events, even with answering the phones. You know, there's a lot of things that people use the youth for, and they are already paid for, so.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Yeah, just to piggyback, that email was sent on the 1st at 3 p.m.
Yes, so I think it's a good idea for us to look into that.
Thank you.
I have a copy of it if the town administrator wants to see.
One other thing, Councilmember McDonald, if you actually want to bring this up so it's on the record about the item you were mentioning.
Yes, so according to the town and police department events to look forward to in 2025, there will not be a finance committee meeting on May 27th, nor will there be a Ways and Means Committee meeting on May 27th. And then for May the 24th is the Healthy Heights Youth Bike Ride. It's every fourth Saturday of the month. I don't see any of those listed here. And on June the 28th, I'm not sure what committee is meeting on June 28th, but there's not a committee meeting on June 28th, nor is there one on the 19th of July.
Are there going to be any committee meetings in those months? Because I believe that when the schedule was made, there was a certain week in each month that was reserved for the committee to hold dates for committee meetings to happen.
Right.
So that was the understanding of the staff, which is why it's on the report. But if we need to update it, we can. But that it was to place a hold on those dates automatically, so we didn't have to go in and schedule them in the dates leading up, but they would already be held.
I think there was I think there was confusion about the meetings we say we have every quarter, not every
Right.
month of the quarter. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they need to go to quarterly, so there should be 4 sets of them throughout the year.
yes.
And then every fourth Saturday, starting April through September, is the Healthy Heights Youth Ride. That should be on the calendar.
Okay, so for that item, we will need to make an adjustment for this list and make sure it's on the master calendar as well.
And can we also see, Mayor Lily, since you took off the Public Works Week open house on here for June 7th, if the Green Team could meet on June 7th?
We can see what, when I spoke to the administrative assistant, the reason the change was made to the 31st for the public works meeting was because the room was reserved on the 7th
Oh, okay,
for another event.
okay.
But you need a green team meeting date, it sounds like still.
We have a date already. We just need a meeting space. So I'm gonna ask the Oxon Hill Library and see.
What's your date?
June 7th.
June 7th. What time?
It's about 7 or 8 of us.
What time?
That's on the Green Team. It's let's see. It's noon, from noon to 1.
Mhm.
It's noon to 1.
We're
Okay.
having a speaker, that's why it needs
Right.
space. Yes, Sustainable Maryland gonna be here.
Okay, so let's do this. We'll try to work offline with getting it scheduled and see what the event is. If there's a time, if it's later in the day, can we have it here earlier? So we'll try to work that off. If you could just follow up with us in between now and our next meeting.
Well, I need to let the Green Team know.
Yeah.
We're gonna be able to do it before then.
Well, the reason,
I think that's what it's okay.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Madam Clerk, do you have the document?
Yes.
Okay. I will, is it ready for me?
Yes, I haven't selected what number. I think just based off of what information was provided that I think I may know what number, but without having heard the full, I wouldn't have been able to make a selection.
Yeah, let me see it and
The
I'll
document
make
is
one.
ready. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It looks like it would be, if it's, if council wishes to do it, it looks like it would be number 1, which is to discuss employment appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Okay. Well, did you want to offer the motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to go into, closed session for reasons, Mayor, could you read that number, please?
For reason one,
For reason one, which is,
it's to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has any jurisdiction, and any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals.
I make a motion to go in closed session for that reason.
Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded that we go into closed session under the statutory authority of the general provisions of Article subsection 3-305B for reason one, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. And the topic we expect to discuss is, it sounds like a letter to a specific council member. Reasons for the closed session discussion of topic is to discuss a specific personnel matters regarding specific individual. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Council President Noble. Councilmember Kennedy.
Present.
Coun-
You voting yes to go into closed session or no?
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson.
Yes.
Councilmember Little.
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald.
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
All right, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council will go into closed session. You're welcome to remain until after the closed session is concluded. However, during this period, only persons who are allowed to be in the session will be here. You are allowed to wait in the lobby if you're here physically, and you can join us when we conclude. At this time, the meeting, let me just make sure I read everything we need, just a moment. Okay, at this time, it is 10:23 and the meeting is now closed.
Yeah.